All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us talk about the elephant in the room. This chart pretty much shows something that I think is very interesting. I briefly mentioned this in my last video where I was talking about, Starfield being memed and having made its way into the conversation, as one of the games that is actually being, touted right now as most innovative gameplay. In that video, I talked about, why I felt Spider-Man 2 deserves to be on that list, actually taking those awards from the hands of Starfield, because I don't think Starfield would have been able to legitimately match up in regard to player, preference on the PC platform. However, its absence has left the void, and Starfield is the game that players are pushing into that void, buying in droves and rating both negatively and more positively, and even giving awards to, and even making its way into gross revenue on the Steam platform, which is a huge platform. Now, with this in mind, I think we have to go ahead and come to terms with a reality that not a lot of people really want to put, into play, because for some reason it's convenient for most of us to basically dwell in ignorance. All day I've been on the channel back and forth, and I said I don't want to do back and forth, but been doing back and forth in the comment section with folk here who are on the PlayStation side that refuse to hold to the reality that PlayStation is giving an impression that it's not necessarily accurate as to where they stand in terms of software sales. In terms of hardware sales, they sell a lot of hardware. However, what is selling a lot of hardware when your software is not necessarily the reason why people are actually buying your hardware? Nintendo actually proves that they are selling hardware. However, their software is a significant reason that people are there. Looking at this chart that I'm putting in front of you, I'm sure you're already deducing what it is that I'm about to say with this comparison. Now, in my last video, I briefly mentioned that at the time that Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War 2018, and Marvel Spider-Man 2018 were released, even at the time that Uncharted: The Thief's End was released, PlayStation 4 had already been approaching, or had already approached, 100 million units. Nonetheless, look at the copies of these games that were sold compared to the Nintendo Switch. This is abysmal if you were to put things into perspective. And seeing that these 100 million PlayStation 4 consoles, and we're not talking about scalpers or, a scarcity of, PS5 units. I'm looking at the PS4 generation, which has double, if almost triple, the number of, units sold than the PS5, by the way. PlayStation 4, according to the Google numbers, if you just Google it, you'll see that Wikipedia does place this particular game, this particular console, in the category of basically having, sold 147 million units. That's a PlayStation 4. So when you actually take this into account, you got to ask yourself and say, what in the world is Nintendo doing, number one, and what in the world is PlayStation claiming? Because PlayStation is making beautiful looking games. They're making games that look like butter on bread, warmed in the microwave and drizzled on top of whatever it is that you want to fill your face with. But it seems like the players are just not the type of players to prioritize these kinds of games. Seeing that Horizon Zero Dawn, which actually had to make its way to PC as the first of the ports of the new, collaborative effort, or whatever this PlayStation was, or extensive effort that PlayStation was doing, and has been discounted heavily. It's $12 right now. If you want to go on Steam and look at the price of Horizon Zero Dawn, it's $12. And it's been $12 for a long time. Every sale, it goes to $12. Its base price is like $24. It's on Good Old Games as well. It's been on basically almost every platform, and you can buy a key for this. And it managed to crawl itself up to 24 million copies. Having been on PC, basically, I don't know, about a year or two before God of War made its way to PC. God of War is actually the more impressive one because it's close and it came to PC later on. So basically we can deduce that, God of War 2018 more than likely, was able to go ahead and take, a very huge part of that, chunk before it even made its way to PC compared to Horizon. All these games on the PlayStation side, I've made purchases of them, except Gran Turismo and The Last of Us Part 2. And I'm not buying The Last of Us Remastered. What the heck is that? Right? And then you look at a game like Breath of the Wild, 31 million copies. Like, you're on number 5 before you even see a close, catch. You're on number 6. The top 6 games on Nintendo outsell everything that PlayStation has been able to put together. You have to come to 27 before you see any kind of struggle from a console that is less powerful, that has less accessories, that, in my opinion, I think is, one that really does play a really huge role in the market that it's trying to achieve. But PlayStation is not doing that. This is why there's a disparity, in my opinion, between PlayStation's earnings and Xbox's earnings. Because Xbox, even though they may not be making these big exclusives, spending all this money to make them, only to sell abysmal amounts when, guys, see, as much as everybody loves Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I understand people love these games, right? Yo, a bunch of game developer students can literally put a game like this together. Okay, I know I said, you see what? Let the game developers who may watch this video, let them come to my aid. But I've dealt with some game developers who are like literally freelance, and even watching some of them basically just come out of university and get hired by these big studios and are already prolific at what they're doing. They can put together a game like this. They can optimize a game like this. At the scope and the scale, yes, you need the budget. But if you put them together in a room, you give them all what they need, give them the Red Bulls and give them the espressos, the artists give them espressos, the programmers give them Red Bulls. I'm being silly, man. I don't know. I don't know what y'all drink, developers. But, man, I know the talent that's out there. They can put together this game. Yet, this game is eating the money. It's eating literally the field from the PlayStation games. So what is my conclusion? I think PlayStation needs to consider a different path forward. If they really want to sell and meet these numbers to justify the cost of their games. You see, this is just a picture. Oh, it sells more. If we look behind and say, okay, how much does it even cost to make these games? It costs more to make these. From a cost perspective, I mean, we don't know Nintendo's cost numbers, but I mean, can I show you some YouTube stuff that, people have made solo? I mean, in Unreal Engine or in Unity. I mean, it's quite impressive for very little amounts of money. So I don't know where Zelda would have to use a huge, massive budget, to be able to do what it does. Ghost of Tsushima, that's also another one. Ghost of Tsushima was a very good example. They looked at the numbers for Ghost of Tsushima was about $60 million, dollars, compared to the $200 million they're putting in The Last of Us, compared to the $200 million they're putting in God of War. Ghost of Tsushima is using a fraction of that budget, and it looks and plays and runs beautifully and is done very well. The writing is wonderful. So these games can be done with, much less of the budget than what they've put in. But because PlayStation wanted the eye candy, everything, no bars held, nothing held back, or however the heck it is you say it. It made it seem like, man, these games are such, wonderful games, but we're a minority that plays these games. That's what we are. I'm the sucker that bought a PS5 this generation. I know people may think I'm attacking them based on PlayStation. No, I'm not attacking you. I'm basically just, mad at myself for actually driving to a whole different state to go buy a PS5 when they were hard to find. I know some of you were like, oh, you literally ordered your PS5 online, or you went to the store and bought yours. I got in the car, drove to another state. Me and my buddy, he got in so much trouble with his wife. I didn't see him for like a few months after we came back home with those PS5s. And you're over here telling me that, people over here telling me that they feel like I hate PlayStation. If I hated PlayStation, why did I make that trip? But then I bought the PS5 and realized that the wool had been pulled over my eyes and I wasn't seeing what was there. Now that I'm seeing everything that's there, I have to say something. I'm sorry, but this gig, it is up. PlayStation, y'all have got to move further and faster than just raising the price of PS Plus and raising the prices of, your video games. You've got to really do something, and you know what it is. Bring your games to PC on day one. Peace out.